good afternoon. Welcome to We Believe Digital and We Believe Digital Newsbreak. We're glad to have you with us today. 85 degrees, 86 degrees, and starting to make its way down in downtown Jackson, Mississippi. I have alongside me today the one and only Mr. Socrates Garrett. How are you doing, good sir?
I'm doing extremely well, Christopher. How are you?
Well, you know, I'm just trying to keep the faith. So many times things going on down in this area, it really can wear at you. But I'm certainly nobody that can say that to you, because you've been seeing stuff now down here for 40 plus years.
Yeah, Chris, I've been in the firing line for 40 plus years, doing business in Mississippi and across the South and across the whole country, quite frankly. And the country is concerned about the economy. That's the number one issue on voters' mind today. And it clearly is the number one issue on African Americans' mind. In the economy is something that we haven't participated in a meaningful way ever. And so we got to have some relief and some breakthrough on that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is, yeah, today is election day, and so hopefully we'll have a wonderful turnout. There's election going out throughout the entire country. All 82 counties in Mississippi are active with voting today. I listened to a little bit of a radio show coming over a little while ago, and Secretary of State Watson was saying they've got a team of 40 employees out there scanning the state, making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing at the polling places. So hopefully everything goes smoothly. I don't remember hearing a lot about problems at the voting stations until just over the last 5 or 6 years. I'm sure way back when there certainly were issues with problems, but it seems like all that's kind of been brought to a head again over the last 5 or 6 years.
No, we continue to have tremendous problems at the voting booths, and people are continuing to go to jail for voter fraud, and a lot of things that I don't understand go on in terms of how you manage polls. Not recently, as recently as last year, we had several people arrested associated with contracts associated with cleaning the voting booths, etc.
Right.
Good friend of mine, Tony Johnson, got caught up in that mess, and several others. And the young lady up in Canton, Mississippi, I believe is in prison today because she was charged with voter fraud, and went all the way to the Mississippi Supreme Court.
Right.
And so what goes on in Georgia with how you count these ballots and how you manage these polls, you can just know that goes on to a greater degree in towns where there are no visible light that's being shed upon how things are done. Mm-hmm. And so early voting continues to be a problem. Many states still don't have it. Allowing people time off to go vote continues to be a problem. And so we watch with anxiety and anticipation every voting cycle to see just how the votes are going to be counted. Many people have gone to bed winning and just to wake up and find that they lost the race. So it's something that you have to stay vigilant on, Chris.
Got to keep an eye on it. I must have had my head in the sand there. I thought for the longest time, there'd be a irregularities here and there, but I just didn't realize it was so widespread. Well, hopefully everything goes smoothly today. If we stick in the Mississippi news here, we got word that the governor, there's a congressional inquiry, two different committees in the House of Representatives had sent Governor Reeves a letter about wanting to know about the funding for the Jackson water crisis. Carolyn Maloney, House Oversight, and Benny Thompson, Homeland Security. Well, apparently, just a couple days ago, the governor responded to that inquiry ahead of the deadline that they had imposed, and from the reports I've read, it continues to point all fingers at Jackson management, saying they hadn't maintained the plant or staffed the plant properly, et cetera, and went on to say the governor told them that they've gotten even more funding than other localities. So another wrinkle in this war between Governor Reeves and the city of Jackson.
Well, I think this war is between Governor Reeves and the congressional delegation that's doing the investigation. And so he would never have answered any questions had it just been between him and the city of Jackson. So when you have Congressman Benny Thompson sitting in the room when you are being asked these questions, that takes it to a whole higher level. Mm-hmm. And so if he says that the city of Jackson has received more funding in a disproportionate manner to other cities, that's in direct conflict to what Derek Johnson with the NAACP said, right, that Jackson had only been funded 3 out of the last 25 years. Mm-hmm. So somewhere there's a disconnect. Mm-hmm. And I suspect that probes like this are designed to sort through all of that.
Right. Well, at the same time, Mayor Lumumba, we learned yesterday, had sent a letter to President Biden on the 3rd of November, imploring help, citing Governor Reeves' decision to pull away from the efforts that's been going on November 20th. Governor Reeves said that we're pulling back at that time. And the mayor sent a letter to President Biden saying, we're going to need help. This isn't over with.
Well, I mean, what does the governor mean by we're pulling back? Clearly, the state issued an emergency, declaration of emergency to deal with the immediate water crisis. Mm-hmm. And to the extent that that emergency period is over, the normal process is for the city to resume operation of their assets. Mm-hmm. And so it's not that he's pulling away. He is doing what he is supposed to do as governor, and that is to help the city during the emergency declaration and then turn that operation, that asset, back over mm-hmm. to the municipality that owns it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what the governor is doing. He just didn't say it that way to infer that his pulling away might mean some great harm to the citizens of Jackson.
Right. Okay, so more to follow on that.
Yeah.
Here we are with, we kicked off, we're off the daylight savings time now. Fell back early Sunday morning. Mm-hmm. But as always, it seems like every year there's a lot of talk about doing away with daylight savings time. I mean, does that have to do primarily with shipping and commerce? Is that why people want to get rid of that daylight savings time? Because I'm really not sure.
Well, commerce drives every decision and every policy, Chris. Mm-hmm. Economics drives every decision and every policy. Mm-hmm. And so if old folks will say, follow the money.
Follow the money.
If you follow the money, you will get to the root of the policy. Mm-hmm. And so the time change had a lot to do with farming. Mm-hmm. Had a lot to do with how much time we're going to have to be in the fields in the afternoons after school to help get these crops out. Mm-hmm. And so some of it, of course, has to do with safety issues, but mostly it's got to do with economics. I need some time to be able to work after school to get my crops out.
Got it.
Kids didn't go to school from October through the end of November. Kids didn't even go to school in the rural areas.
Farming took the priority.
And they had to get those crops out. In October, it would be so cold in the mornings, and you'd be burning up in daytime. And so it's got to do with the economics mostly, Chris.
Well, speaking of economics, they had the special legislative session at the Mississippi Capitol just last week, and they did what was necessary to approve approximately $247 million in state incentives for an economic development project up in the Golden Triangle, West Point, Starkville, Columbus. Steel Dynamics Incorporated, who already owns a plant in Columbus, and now they'll have more recycling aluminum in one plant, processing ash in another. Lots and lots of funding, lots and lots of incentives for this company to expand its operation up in the Golden Triangle area.
Well, the Mississippi is ripe for business development. And we tend to source businesses and that might be interested in moving in here. And then when we show them our state, we show them the positive things about certain parts of the state. And for them to locate in the Golden Triangle, like they needed another economic boost up there, just didn't make a lot of sense for me. We need economic development in the 2nd Congressional District on the other side of the interstate, where we have just as much land, if not more, undeveloped land, where you're next door to the river. There is no river over there at the Golden Triangle. There is a river there on the west side, on the 2nd Congressional District. The mighty Mississippi comes through Greenville. And until we start to see economic development that is meaningful, that helps the parts of our state that's hurting the most, then we're not going to be able to raise the state in terms of its entire population. And while 1,000 jobs at $90-some thousand a year is a wonderful thing for Mississippi, but we're going to have to get some $50,000 jobs over on the 2nd Congressional District and in central Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi, in the area where is the black diaspora concentrated and where we have the highest poverty rates and where we need the most help.
Makes me think the other side of the street.
The other side of the street, Chris.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming up on our break, Mr. Garrett, so we got some commercials here, and we'll let the producer have at it. Thank you.
Let's read and learn together. Meet Mason. Written by Sherry Tate. Illustrated by David. Mason is a young, inspired learner. Walk with him as he uses his 5 senses to explore the world around him. Your young one can learn to identify shapes, numbers, letters, and more with Meet Mason. Available now on Amazon.com.
My name is Wendy Wilson White. I'm a candidate for Hinds County Circuit Court Judge District 2. I was born here and I stayed here. I'm a graduate of Provine High School, Tougaloo College, and Mississippi College School of Law. I've been practicing law here in Jackson and Hinds County since 2001. I have 21 years of trial and courtroom experience, and for the past 8 years, I've been prosecuting crime. I'm running for circuit court judge because I want to redefine justice. We don't deserve to feel unsafe on the streets of Jackson and Hinds County, and you don't deserve to see your families and loved ones killed. We deserve to have a judicial system we can all believe in. And you deserve to have a judge who will hold people accountable. People who live with mental illness deserve fair treatment from our judicial system. We need to educate our children about crime and how they will be held responsible for their actions. We deserve to see our children grow old. They should not be defendants or victims of crime at such early ages. You deserve a judge who is fair and impartial, experienced, and dedicated to the places you and I call home. I want to be the difference our city, county, and court deserve. On November 8th, I need your vote. Please vote Wendy Wilson White, WWW, Hinds County Circuit Court Judge, District 2.
The Mississippi Link, an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippilink.com and click on Home Delivery.
And welcome back to We Believe Digital, our Newsbreak show. Have it 3 times a week on Tuesdays at 1:30, Wednesdays at 5 p.m., and at 2 p.m. on Fridays. And Mr. Garrett, we got a new World Series winner, Houston Astros. Second World Series, beat Philadelphia Phillies 4-1 the other Saturday night. Dusty Baker earning his first World Series, 26 years as a manager. And you know, he played for years and years and years before that. So he's got his first World Series as a manager.
Well, yeah, congratulations to Houston. I know that they've been close on a couple occasions. And so I'm glad to see Dusty win the World Series. His comments, though, were disheartening to me, and that he indicated that there was not one African-American born
That's right.
player on either team.
On either team, yeah.
And that just defies logic. African-Americans are some of the best athletes in the world, and we prove that every day in football and basketball and things of that nature, but not to have one born African-American on either team makes me wonder, you know, what gates are there that are closed that are keeping our children from succeeding in baseball.
Well, it's got to be in the eyes of the general manager. So, you know, those eyes, probably most of them blue, are that's what they're seeing. Dominican Republic, you know, they're just seeing that area and a lot of talented people, and I guess their eyes are just trained that way. Their eyes are just trained that way.
I don't. You could be right, of course, but I thought that every team had scouts, and they were looking for players. If you want to be a champion,
right?
If you want to be a champion, then you got to seek out the best talent you can find, regardless.
Of course.
And so it may be something more systemic than the racism that could be there. It could be in the programs that we're offering in our children, in the early stages of life. I don't recall seeing any little league baseball games in our community. And when I drive down Livingston Road next to Powell School, I see little kids on the football field. I mean, they can hardly carry their helmets, but they're there. I've seen some small kids on some soccer fields. But I don't recall seeing any small kids on baseball fields in our school districts.
I got to look into that.
And so it could be some program deficiencies that we have taken our eye off of baseball. And baseball is probably the highest paid sport of all three of your majors. And the longevity of baseball is you can play well into your 40s, and the chance of getting hurt is very slim. So if you're looking for a career for a young athlete, if you're looking for a career that, you know, would leave you in a couple positions, one, to be extremely wealthy, and two, to be extremely healthy, then baseball
The way to go.
is the way to go.
Yeah.
But we're not going that way.
I'm going to research that and bring it back to us.
Okay.
They recently issued a hurricane warning for this tropical storm Nicole. They're expecting that to strengthen, and this time it wouldn't loop down and come up like it did last month with the, to the Tampa Bay area. This is expected to hit the east coast of Florida. So all our eyes are on that, and they're expecting it to strengthen from a tropical storm to a hurricane.
In the east coast of Florida.
East coast.
Is that Key West down there?
Well, not that far down, but further up, Jacksonville and Orlando.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Well, we're praying for them. The devastation that occurred in the last hurricane that went through there, it just makes you wonder. Is it climate change? Is it angry God? Is it
Right.
what's driving the destruction?
Right.
And so, in my opinion, they're not man-made, so we can't put this on man.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something else there that we better understand quickly, because I don't believe these cities can take much more pounding like we had in the last month or so.
Another story on the national level, this guy, the head of the Oath Keepers, Stuart Rhodes, singing a different tune now than just a couple of days ago on the witness stand. He's, remember you had looked up seditious conspiracy, but now he's saying it was stupid to storm the Capitol, and those who did were off mission. That wasn't ever planned. So he's singing a totally different tune now.
So when you use the term off mission, I wonder what
that was his quote.
Well, when he used the term off mission, that implies that there was a mission.
Well, he's the head of the organization, so he'd be dictating the missions. So,
I wonder what is the mission of the organization.
You think any chance his favorite color is orange?
I don't know. He may get to learn to like it.
He might. Well, Mr. Garrett, back down into Mississippi now. Something happened up in Webb, Mississippi, which I've never been to.
I've never been to Webb either that I can think of.
Well, they open a market up there, African American owned grocery, calling it Pharmacy with an F, Pharmacy Marketplace, in Webb, Mississippi. Black owned, going to be fresh meats, fresh vegetables, fruits and vegetables, and the whole drugstore routine all combined in together in an isolated area. How about that?
Well, first of all, I need to know where Webb, Mississippi is. I might want to drive up and partake on some of the fresh fruit and vegetables. We need more of that. One of the things African Americans have to do is start to produce. We can't just remain as the number one consumer group in the world. We have to produce. We have to manufacture, and those kind of little baby steps. And, you know, a grocery store that's selling produce that was raised and grown in African American farms is a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So southeast of Clarksdale,
yeah.
above Glendora.
Yeah, I thought it would be up in the 2nd Congressional District, up in, if it's a black-owned business,
yeah.
I thought it would be in that area. I just don't recall having been to Webb. I'm certain I've driven close to it.
Well, it's very possible you've driven right through it, but it's just so small.
It's possible. But I've been to Clarksdale on numerous occasions, to Ground Zero. That's where Morgan Freeman and Bill Luckett had their restaurant and civil rights memorabilia and icon in Clarksdale.
It's Tallahatchie County, and according to the 2010 census, I'm not sure why the Google machine doesn't have the most recent one, but in the 2010 census, it had a population of 565 people.
Well, there you go. There you go. You know, you got 565 people, and most of them are going to be related, and that's one big family up in Webb, Mississippi. So, but I wish them a lot of success with that endeavor.
Sir. Me too.
It's much needed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, we're starting to run out of time, but obviously this arsonist at work last night, some reports say 6 buildings, some say 7. I think we're maybe 6 buildings, and then there was a fire set on the ball field adjacent to Jackson State. So maybe that's where the number 7 came in. But these 911 calls started coming in at 2:30 in the morning until 4:30 in the morning, hours before the polls opened. 2 churches, Greater Bethlehem Temple. The damage, I was over there this morning taking photographs. The damage appeared quite confined to the side that's over on Prentice Street. Not what I think the main sanctuary area was. I don't think it got to that point. But over at Epiphany Lutheran, right there on Drake, going into Jackson State, right there across from that credit union, horrible, devastating fire.
Wow.
Just took out the vast majority of the whole church there.
Wow.
And and lo and behold, when I was over there taking pictures, there was an ATF agent, and he ended up getting into a car, an unmarked car with Louisiana plates on it. So, because a lot of people are saying, well, it's a firebug. We've had a firebug around here for some time now, but I don't know. Did they send an ATF agent from Louisiana for a firebug, or do they send that when they suspect that, racially motivated arson?
Well, I'm sure they're going to evaluate all possibilities.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime you got a fire in a black church, you know, that's going to send the signal all the way to Biden's office. Our history with fire bombings and the 3 civil rights girls that got killed in Birmingham in the church just sent shock waves through this community, right akin to Emmett Till. And so anytime you have a bombing or a fire in a place of worship in the African-American community, then you're going to see ATF, you're going to see FBI, you're going to see CIA, you're going to see all 20 agencies. So, you know, we got more agencies than we can count are going to be on the ground looking into that. And they should. And they should.
It's so sad to look at that, you know, and there was some people getting out of cars and perhaps church members over at Epiphany and, just women sobbing and men just walking with their head down. It's just, apparently that church had been around nearly 90 years.
Oh, yeah. Both institutions. Bishop Coleman was probably one of the premier ministers that founded the church there on Prentice that you're talking, Greater Bethlehem. And I spoke to his daughter, Jackie, just yesterday. And that family had done so much in this community. So we certainly cannot take it lightly. That was a accidental event, or versus a man-made an attack. In Mississippi, we watched so many crosses burning during our years until when we see our structures go up in flames. It's natural to wonder.
Yeah.
It's natural to wonder if this is a method of intimidation, sending a signal in the African American community to stay away from the polls tomorrow.
Right.
You naturally wonder. And unfortunately,
right.
But it's just like if you're convicted of a crime and a crime occurs in the community where you live, they knock on your door. They knock on your door first,
right,
to see where were you and you know, what do you know?
Yeah.
Because you have a history of having done that. Well, it's no different when you burn up churches. We knock on the door of the latest hate group to see where were you guys last night.
Right.
You know, so I hope it's not the case, but we'll see.
Sad. Apparently, no one was injured. There's no reports of anybody being injured or anything, but the damage is just widespread.
Well, it's an injury of another sort.
Different sort. Yeah.
It's certainly injury. You know, it used to be the churches were just sacred. And an old man wouldn't smoke on the grounds, and certainly wouldn't curse, and would partake of alcohol. Had deep respect for our religious institutions. So the church was holy ground. It was looked upon as a sanctuary and a place that was to be revered.
Yeah.
And so when we lose that gate, if you're still from the church, you know, if you put $5 in the collection plate and take out 10, you know, we're getting where we'll do anything as a society. There are no barriers. There's no boundaries on what mankind will do. So there's significant injury associated with this. We just got to see how it plays out.
Yes, sir. Well, we're running up against the clock, Mr. Garrett, but we did want to say Merit Health is back in the news. Merit Health in South Jackson, they're talking about curtailing more services. So, you know, the NICU went away a few months ago, and now they're talking about, but they won't be specific about what they're talking about, what they're curtailing. But the Board of Supervisors and Credell Calhoun actively engaged in discussions with them, but is not talking to the press about the specifics about what they're considering. But one thing that does come to mind is detainees at Raymond receive their care out from Merit. So people are wondering, Sheriff Jones is wondering, you know, wants to know what they're talking about as far as curtailing more services. And sometimes I wonder with these, I mean, I know these health places are businesses, and yet sometimes I can't help but wonder, you know, do they strong arm the community to, you know, for their own profit sometimes as well?
I don't know. I do know that we can't afford to lose that facility on that side of town,
right,
on the south side of Jackson. There is nothing there.
Yeah.
And so,
whereas on the other side of the river, it's just dripping with places.
You got choices.
Everything.
And so that is a strategic hospital that's critically important to Hinds County and Jacksonians.
Yes, sir. Well, very good. Well, we thank you for joining us today at We Believe Digital Newsbreak. We'll be back with you tomorrow afternoon at 5 p.m. Hope you have a good day. Be sure to make time to get out there to vote and stay safe.